All right, we'll be dropping in here very shortly. Thank you all for joining us. A very special guest this morning. Really excited to have you all here. All right, let's see if we can figure this out. All right, here we go, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Friday Coffee. I believe this is episode 16. Brian Martinovich, one of your hosts, here with Nick Burton. Nick, if you want to say hi.
Morning, everybody.
And Brian Madden.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So we got a pretty decent audience size now. I'd imagine that most people know who you are, but if they don't, do you want to give them a little bit of background?
Yeah, I've been listening to some folks I've known for like 20 years as your previous guests. So I'll just kind of crib their backgrounds, which is like I am an EUC old timer, I think we're calling ourselves now. So I've been doing EUC and Citrix related things for about 30 years. And currently I work at Citrix, where I am a futurist.
That's awesome. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the old timer moniker. We might need to work on that a little bit, but we could definitely go off of that. And we have some great topics to cover today. As always, we'll let Nick start us off, and we'll kind of go from there.
So, what does a futurist do at Citrix, Brian?
It's a fair first question. The way I look at my role is I'm essentially a scout. So I'm kind of looking down the road of what's happening in terms of technology, but like looking really far down the road, like 5 years. A lot of times like product managers will sort of be really focused on their product and like what's coming in the next few quarters. At like the CTO level, you're thinking strategically, but you're kind of still looking at, the products and where we need to go long-term and partnerships over the next, 3, 4, 5 years. My role is actually not product focused, but just looking at the market and user computing, in 5 years, which by the way, 5 years is the year 2030, which sounds like really far away. But, in Citrix's world, we're about end user computing and securing work and how humans and software and all that connects together. What are people doing in 5 years? What applications do they use? What devices do they use? How do they interact with those applications? What are the security threats? What are the challenges? What do we enable? And just kind of paint a picture for what the world looks like in those 5 years. And then the other half of that is being a storyteller and just sharing that story and just talking to our product management, our executive leadership, our partners, our customers, my colleagues, the market, and just talking about what we see that future looking like. And boy, 5 years. I mean, I think I've been in EUC since the mid 1990s. I feel like right now we have more change ahead of us in the next 5 years than any 5 year period in my entire career. It is
totally
really exciting time to be.
I agree with that. I feel like the Benjamin Button meme where he like ages really fast, all in like one single 10-second span. And I think that what you're doing is completely necessary, because I feel like me as like a practitioner and user of artificial intelligence, I'm so heads down on it all the time. I'm like, what can I do with it right now that I'm not even looking 5 years down the line from now? And when you said 5 years, like I thought about it in my head really quickly, and I just don't even know what that looks like for us, honestly.
Yeah, and like what you described is exactly why futurists exist, because everyone is really looking at like what is in front of them right now, what tasks do you have to do today, the products that you're shipping in the next few years. I mean, everyone's really focused on right now. And if I'm talking to people at work, hey, let's spend 30 minutes a month and just kind of, what are 2 or 3 4 years down the road. And a lot of times the stuff down the road, it doesn't directly impact what you do today and tomorrow, but it just starts to shape about kind of where are we going, what's sort of long term, and just what to keep in the back of our minds. Right. And so it really is one of those things, unless you are intentional about it, like who has time to sit and think about what the world looks like in 5 years?
Right, but you could make a critical error, for example, architecting your solution on top of Docker when Kubernetes, for example, is around. No, I'm sorry, Docker employees and fans, and just using it as an example, maybe a bad one, but I think I kind of made my point.
Yeah, and like things that seem impossible or highly unlikely today might be more likely in the future. And of course, within the future, you have to talk and think in probabilities. Like we don't for sure know what's going to happen, but there's some things we know. Like I did a blog post a couple of weeks ago where I said, like, even if AI progress stops, like, because everyone's talking about, oh, like, have we hit like this peak of AI? Like, is it, are we really going to get to AGI? Are we not? Is AGI a scam? Where are we going? Is it all hype? And the article says, hey, look at what exists today. Like, even if you believe that AI is all hype, well, everything we have today, there's enough technology that exists that, like, quite literally, we all have access to with a $20 a month ChatGPT subscription. If every worker was using this technology to its fullest potential, it would still fundamentally transform the way work is done, and it would take us 5 years to get implemented. So, like, the future is going to be different, even if AI progress stops. Right. And so there's a lot of things to really think about that, like, just because something sounds sort of like crazy and outlandish today, in 5 years, it might just be the way things operate.
Yeah, but human beings have such short memories or attention spans. I'd imagine that any significant development throughout human history was met with the same level of response, whether it was like the wheel or the electrical grid. They're like, wait, what do you mean? There's a town that's connected by wires and everyone has things in their house and they can see? Like, no one's going to do that,
But that short, the short memory also works backwards. So remember how when iPhones came out, we were all like, I'm sorry, kids, I'm an adult. I use a BlackBerry. Thank you very much. I will not be using an iPhone. 5 years later, it's like, oh, I forgot we all used BlackBerries back in the day, man. Wow. Like, Look at, you find the BlackBerry in a box and you're like, oh my God, this is so old. How is this? Oh, it's only 2 years ago. So, like, it's like with using AI again. I mean, if you look at like ChatGPT, for example, I saw something. I think we just passed 1,000 days since ChatGPT was released to the public. Wow. Less than 3 years. Less than 3 years. Do you remember before ChatGPT? Like, sort of.
Yeah, a lot of Google.
yeah.
So that's an interesting point, right? Like, what if ChatGPT goes down? Then what? Then what do we all do? We can't think for ourselves anymore.
Oh, so what if email goes down? I mean, yeah, sometimes tech goes down. Oh, what if email goes down? Well, now we're all working from home. And like, what if my internet connection goes down? Well, now I can't work. Now I can't do anything. Now I can't even order a pizza. How do I get groceries? How do I get a car?
Yeah.
Okay, true. Like, just because technology can sometimes fail doesn't mean that's not a technology's fault.
No, I just mean it's interesting because you put down. It in the category of things that are almost like what we can't live without.
Right?
Yeah, foundational.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, a lot of technology that happens, and like that shows where the technology, when it gets to the point that you cannot imagine life without it. That's actually a good segue. And like, oh, if people in their personal lives cannot imagine life without a certain technology, we should probably figure out how to let them use that technology in the office.
Yeah, true. Totally true.
Yeah, that's a good segue, like you said, Brian. Just some of the resistance at more of the enterprise level that you see out there. Is that something that you're running into quite a bit? What does that look like, and do you see that even changing within the next year or so?
Yeah, I mean, this resistance we talk about I guess if you talk about resistance to AI, and I have to say, I've written this before. Let me give a little plug: citrix.com/blogs. So I'm blogging every week on Citrix about like AI and AI in the workplace, and I'm truly writing my own content with my perspective after talking to Citrix customers and partners and colleagues about what the future looks like and about like what the issues are going to be and about how we can start thinking today about these things. So this is not like a Citrix product blog or a Citrix marketing blog. I'm really writing whatever I want that I think is important to IT practitioners focused on device management and user management. And so in that blog, I write about AI quite a bit because it is talking about the future of work. And in my mind, there's a whole, like when you say AI, that means a whole bunch of different things to different people. Like, a lot of, well, I wrote about this week. There's all this hubbub right now going on where everyone's like, oh, AI is overblown. It's all hype. Companies are spending millions of dollars on it. And there's all these studies showing that they're not getting the value out of it.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm saying, yeah, I mean, it depends. Again, AI is a broad term. Like a lot of times when companies talk about AI and not getting value, they are talking about IT deployed AI solutions. Like some of these solutions are very wide and like they're horizontal, very wide, but not deep at all. It's like copilots and chatbots. Which is great technology. I think copilots and chatbots should exist, but this is just like deploying new tools for your enterprise. This is not fundamentally changing and transforming the way you do work. It's just making it easier to find information or to summarize documents or whatever. I think some AI that IT tries to deploy is like very focused and deep. So we're going to take one workflow, one problem, and just like try to redo that from top to bottom. And that's like a standard IT transformational project, which like almost always goes over budget and it takes longer than it's supposed to. It never actually does the goals. And so I think these like wide and shallow or narrow and deep, hard to get there IT AI projects are kind of failing. And a lot of people are kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, just saying, oh, this is why, AI doesn't work in the enterprise. But then I talk to your actual workers and they're using ChatGPT, they're using Claude, they're using Grok, they're using Gemini, they're using all these tools on their own. A lot of them paying for their own subscriptions and bringing these tools into their office. And, these chatbot tools, by the way, they're not just chatbots, they're entire platforms. They plug into your applications, APIs, they plug into, like data sources, they have memory, they can operate browsers, they can operate your computer, they can do scheduled tasks, they can follow up. I mean, you can talk to them. It's a whole sort of productivity partner. And my focus is on that, the AI that end users are using and how it's changing the way that they're doing jobs and how IT departments manage that AI and manage their workers. And so to the whole point, like I just set the stage. I'm sorry to like answer your question about people are pushing back in the same ways they pushed back in the early days of like consumerization of IT or BYO. Like remember, we won't call out old timers, but those of you who are working, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, remember the Blackberries and who Jamie wrote that, who is a few people in the chat. I love that talking about still having their Blackberries. Remember when the iPhone came out and you're like, oh my God, this iPhone's awesome. I want to use the iPhone at work. And IT was like, absolutely not.
Yep.
Like, no way, this is a toy. This is, the same thing happened with BYOC, right? Like, oh, I want to use a Mac. I use a Mac at home. At work, you're giving me this like dumb laptop that's corporate owned and like locked down and like, just can't use my Mac. And companies were like, no way. But of course, over time, IT departments figured out like how to support that. It required like, sure, there's a mental mindset shift, but it required some advancement in like security protocols and like interfaces and some work that had to happen to make sure that could happen securely. I think the exact same thing is going to happen with AI. So the idea right now, like, ChatGPT, Claude, all these environments, as I said, they have tools you can plug into them. Like I can make ChatGPT connect into my Google Docs or connect into my OneDrive. If I'm the CISO at my company, do I want my employees' rando ChatGPT applications to connect into my corporate OneDrive? Heck no. They're going to come with their AI and ransack the place. I do not want to allow that. Yep. But okay, what if there's a way to do it securely? I can track, I can do DLP. Maybe it's the agent on the inside and the outside talking to each other. There's a whole bunch of different ways that can happen. So I think a lot of folks, like a lot of CISOs are just like, I got to keep myself off the news. Like, I don't want to be the next news report about we got ransomware because someone's, agent, rogue agent did something. So I think a lot of people today shut that down, but it's not because they fundamentally don't believe that it should be allowed. It's just like, they don't know how to do it securely yet. And then in their defense, like, no one super does, so they could think that's okay. But in my mind, the friction that exists is workers want to use their AI tools and their AI environments in the corporate environment, and companies just say no because they just don't know how to say yes.
And it's because the company feels like they don't have enough time to respond to it or understand the implications or set the rest of their systems up with it. And so from what I've seen, I've been in IT for a while. I won't say that I'm an old timer necessarily, but I have more gray than I'd like to admit to. But from what I've seen is like whenever an enterprise or corporation creates some sort of resistance to an idea concept, in this case, it's AI, there becomes a gray market or even a black market or shadow IT, as a couple of people in the chat. And I think that will continue to exist unless we are properly prepared for it to enable it.
Yeah, and something you said also is like people don't have the time or don't have the so to figure it out. Hey, I mean, it goes back down to money, right? Like if I'm a CISO, I'm thinking in our what are our year-long initiatives? What are our budget? What do we have allocated? And if someone's coming to me and saying, hey, I want to do this project to allow our workers to like bring their own AI chatbots and connect into our environment, I'm like, well, how much does this cost? And like, what am I not doing because I do this, right? Like, what project am I delaying or pulling resources off of to chase this little thing? And is this real? And is it actually secure? And is it actually feasible? So we kind of have like a little bit of a chicken and the egg of like, can you do it? We got to try. Well, I don't want to try. So it's just right now we're in the phase of planting the seeds. And, again, you start talking about a futurist, like to me, it is inevitable that all workers are going to be sort of AI enhanced, whether it's with the chatbot environment that they themselves use and bring, whether it's one the company provides, whether it's a combination of both, whatever that may be. We know in 5 years that every knowledge worker is going to be enhanced by AI in some very profound way. Mm-hmm. So let's walk back. Like, what are the steps to get there? And how do we feel like that's going to look like, kind of just going back from some future point to today? And then what steps can we, like, what are the first steps going to be? And we can kind of know like how we would enter that environment. So like, what do we need to start doing today to get that ready? I sort of look at this like anytime you're doing like utility work, if you want to widen a road, well, the first 2 years of work is like moving the utility poles, relocating the sewer lines, all these things before you can actually start paving the road.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of where we are now with a lot of this kind of stuff.
It kind of lends itself to a question that came in, and he used the word infrastructure. He said, if AI is becoming infrastructure, where does the real advantage come from? And when he said infrastructure, I was thinking like servers and storage and memory. But then I kind of realized that he's probably talking about it almost being like the roads.
Yeah. I mean, he's talking about that book, Does IT Matter? Is that Nicholas Price, I think, did that book? Someone correct me. There's a book from years ago, obviously 20 years ago, like Does IT Matter? And it's basically like, if everyone can have access to the same IT systems to get the same insights, then IT is not a competitive advantage. Now, the argument is like, well, maybe it is just infrastructure and not a competitive advantage. But like, that's like saying, do phones matter? If everyone has phones, then having a phone is not a competitive advantage. Okay, but not having a phone is definitely a competitive disadvantage. So like, hey, if everyone's using AI, that means like everyone's using AI. So if you're that one company that doesn't want to use it, and sure, I mean, there will be companies who are very artisanal in their whole thing. Nicholas Carr, thank you, Michael Keane. Nicholas Carr is the guy. Nicholas Price is the guy that did Wallace and Gromit, I think. No, let's Nick Park. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Nicholas Carr. But yeah, the point is hey, even if it is just infrastructure and just the way we do things, then that means it's just infrastructure and the way we do things. So you still need to do it.
So it brings up an interesting point, like just like, what about the people that refusing to adopt it now or adapt to it? Because I still hear people out there saying like, oh, I won't touch it, or no, I don't believe in that. It's always wrong. It's always inaccurate. Are they putting themselves at a disadvantage?
I cannot begin to believe I have the ability to speak for everyone and what's important to them personally and what puts them at an advantage and where they are in their life and with their journey and all these kinds of things. So one of the beauties of the work that we do, I don't mean we at Citrix, but we, like all of us on the call, all of us watching, is we work we are like the human interface to IT. We're not the back end. We're not the software. We are where like the IT meets the worker, where the tech meets the human.
Mm-hmm.
And that end user computing has always been about like the human interface of the IT and the company. And so humans are beautiful and messy and flawed and unique and biased and, you know, like chunky and change day to day. And so, you know, AI means different things to all sorts of different people. Like people use devices differently. Some people, you know, whether it's a laptop, a phone, a tablet, a watch, buds, everyone works very differently. And so some people, if they haven't found AI that helps them, then that's great. I think that's okay. I think most like I can't envision a job where AI wouldn't necessarily help, but also to learn AI today really takes some time and takes some investment. And there's a lot of people like people should on each other all the time. You should learn AI. You need to do this. You need to do 1 hour a week, 1 hour a day. You need to. People are going to do what they're going to do. And the way I look at it is AI has not yet had its easy moment. It's not had its iPhone moment. And the way that I, you know, talk about this is one of my colleagues gave me a great analogy the other day who said, hey, when 3G first came out, it was going to change the world, right? Like it was going to be pay for everything on your phone, tap for parking, tickets, meals, all this kind of stuff. But we had like Nokia candy bars in those days and little WAP phones, and it never really like kind of super connected until the iPhone came out. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, 3G was one of the foundationally enabling technologies, but people didn't use 3G. They use iPhones. You know, they didn't. And if the iPhone happened to use 3G in the back end, then so be it. And by the way, the iPhone you didn't need to be convinced to use an iPhone. You just saw it and were like, I want that one, please. And then our mothers can use it. Like it was very easy. So I think at some point AI, we're close. We're so close to seeing like it's getting easier and easier. It's not just chat. You know, it's bolted on the side of browsers now. It's able to operate our computers. You know, I said they're like studios, OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Claude, or Gemini. All these things have access to all these tools and connectors and extensions. We're getting really, really close to where AI kind of has its iPhone moment. I think sidebar, a lot of people are expecting GPT-5 to have that, and I think that's part of it's an expectations management issue around why people are so like blasé about how well, you know, GPT-5 is, how good it is. But there's going to be that moment. I don't know when. It might be next week. It might be next year. It won't be 5 years. It'll be before that. But there's going to be a moment where this inflection point is like, okay, it's so easy to use and so valuable, obviously, to people. Where again, not everyone got an iPhone overnight. Not everyone's going to get an iPhone overnight. Some people still don't use it. That's fine. There's going to be a moment where people who are kind of on the fence are like, oh, I see how this works. I see why I need it. Okay, now I'm using it. And we're just waiting for that moment.
Yep.
And is it with the GPT-5 thing? I just have to kind of jump into that. Is it because people expected AGI with GPT-5? Is it because they expected that it would give them perfect answers or that it would read their mind? Is that really like where the hype cycle becomes reality, when GPT can just read your mind instead of needing to interpret based on the limited language that you can use and energy towards it? Like I can't write a novel for it to get my exact result at some point. Sorry about that. The question's a little long, but
no, but I think, you know, your point is valid. I don't think AI needs to read your mind. I have a lot of profound relationships with other humans, and none of them are able to read my mind. Maybe my partner can read my mind, but very few people can read my mind. But I still have very profound relationships with them. So I don't think AI has to read our mind, but it has to engage with us in the way that we want to engage with it. So that could be typing, that could be talking. It could be like looking at content that it's generating on demand for us. It could be like talking to it in buds, in a device, and a keyboard, and a watch, hand motions. You know, everyone's interface with AI. I think where the value of AI is not that it can do all these interfaces. It can exist in the interface for whatever the human would like it to be at that moment, at that time. So for example, to me, I'm really talking to AI a lot more than I'm typing to AI. Now I still like to type. You know, my blog articles are all typed. I enjoy writing, but if it's like I want to have a deep conversation, I want this to be transcribed. So I'm going to hit that little microphone button, and I'm going to be like, okay, so I'm thinking about this idea at Citrix, and I want to do blah blah blah, and I'll ramble for 15 minutes, and it like captures it all, and I click send, and then it asks some follow-up questions, and it goes, we're having a conversation. And to me, that is the way it's very profound to me. I'm talking to GPT a lot, or LLMs, while I'm browsing the web, and it's like web browsing GPT, web browsing GPT, and they can like see my tabs also, and like I'm kind of waiting for like, can we just like change so that I'm talking to the GPT and the GPT is talking to the website? Like, why am I talking to the website anymore? If there's something I need to see, poke a hole, show it to me. Otherwise, like, just let's wrap.
So there's a couple of questions coming in, and this always flies by. We have 6 minutes left, right? Good point. Barely even time to drink our coffee today. But
is that coffee, Brian?
It is Coke Zero.
Nice.
Because it's in the afternoon, but I still have caffeine.
There you go. Some afternoon aspartame to really get the juices flowing.
So I guess this one's a quicker one, but is there room for an AI aggregator? I guess that's like the Google of AI that just like sends your AI requests to the right tool, maybe.
Yeah, I think yes, because there's some interesting protocols. Like there's a protocol standard emerging called A2A, which stands for agent to agent, and it's a way for two chatbots to talk to each other. And it's kind of like those old demos, like where you got like Siri and what was that Microsoft one, Cortana on like two phones, and they got them talking to each other like that. Imagine that, but like GPT talking to Claude. But the reason why would I want that? Well, maybe I use ChatGPT personally in my personal life, so that's what I use as my like AI platform. And maybe my company, maybe they've standardized on like Microsoft Office, and they have Copilot. So like maybe my company doesn't want to open up its like doors to allow my agent to go through, but hey, my agent can talk to your agent. Like maybe it's actually like the Brian Madden agent behind the firewall talking to the Brian Madden agent on the outside of the firewall. But the one behind the firewall, it knows all the rules. It knows like what conversations, it knows my context, it knows my like DLP, all that kind of stuff. Yep. And so, it's just like my people will talk to your people. So I think the idea to have like an agentic sort of interface on lots of things, different people in the company, different departments, different services, different third-party providers, I think that's going to end up happening. And our agents are going to kind of end up talking to each other to get things done. So in my mind, that's how I would, if someone's going to ask, like, is there an AI aggregator in the future? I'm thinking yes, but it looks something more like the way I just described there.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think of like the Jarvis versus Ultron conversation eventually happening. Like attackers will start to use it, kind of thing. So
of course. Yeah. And that's like an unfortunate fact of life, and also is applied with all technologies.
Yep.
Right. There's an interesting book called Neuromancer, where one AI is at like war with other AIs, and the AIs are like proprietary and they're owned by massive corporations or extremely wealthy people. And like the AI is trying to manipulate human beings to unlock its full potential and basically let it go. Oh man, there's so many good questions in the chat, and there's only 3 minutes left. I don't know what to do.
I recommend the Neuromancer trilogy, and all of those old sci-fi, like from the 80s books, are like, I don't know, they used to be sci-fi to me, and now I feel like they're like, yeah. Now I'm like, oh, this has already happened. This already happened. This is gonna happen next year. It's gotten real.
Definitely, for sure. Where do you want to go with this, Nick? Should we have another question from the audience, or do you have a question?
Yeah, let's pick one here.
What I can do also is I'll take all these audience questions and let's just make it into like a LinkedIn post. Like
they're showing us comments within the event, so you can always go back.
Yeah. All right. So how about we do that? If we didn't get to your question live on air, then Brian will look through each of the comments and get back to you. And yes, Neuromancer, William Gibson, some definitive sci-fi or maybe science fact now.
It's just science. It's my science book.
Well, Brian, before we depart here, thanks again for joining us, taking 30 minutes out of your day. We really appreciate it. Before we go, if you had to pick one person to be on the show next, who would it be?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, and I was like, okay, I don't want to do someone from Citrix. and I was gonna recommend Ron Oglesby, but then you also had a guy from Login, and you're like there's a lot like so
too much fraternizing.
so I'm like, okay, how about this? I'm gonna pick my brother, Jack Madden.
Oh yes.
Yep.
So
Good.
Jack works at Omnissa. I think you haven't had an Omnissa person
That's
yet.
true. Yep.
And he and I work like at competitive companies, so like we don't really talk about work at all. Like I don't know that much about what he's up to and what's on his mind these days. But
Yeah.
he's loving life over there and living in San Francisco. So say, Jack, you're up.
Sweet.
Tag.
Coming for you, Jack.
That means you have to listen to this one too, Jack. Just so
Yep.
all right, great. So we're getting close. Time's up. I would just like to show my appreciation for Brian. Thanks for joining us here today.
Yep.
We made the show very special, in my opinion. I think this is a great one. Had a bunch of people watching. Great questions. Great topics. So thank you for that, and thank you, Nick, for being a great co-host.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks again,
thanks all for watching. Appreciate it.
Yep. Have a great weekend.
All
See you,
right,
everybody.
everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.